In and out of the Beltway, from large cities to small towns to the rural heartland, from sea to shining sea. This is Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Inside the News, and I'll tell you what, this is it's a happy day. We're going to let the guys all talk about it as well. We got Ben Brunson and Frank Vernuccio. Ben Brunson, good day to you.
It's a great day. I'm back in Florida, and it's just as cold as North Carolina, where I came from. So it's quite the winter going on.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
It is so cold in New York that it matches the Siberian climate, which is what most of our city government people seem to enjoy because they are, of course, all renegade communists.
All right, we're going to get started here. And when Ben said that he's back in Florida, it just reminded me that 8 years ago, in 2017, when Trump took office, his speech was known as the Carnage speech. And people refer to that as the Carnage speech. Well, yesterday or Monday, when the inauguration occurred, we taped this on Tuesday, but it was now known as the Golden Speech or the Sunlight speech. And they've changed it to that yellow, cheerful type of an outlook. But the first words out of his mouth is, we're back in the golden age. It starts now. Frank Vernuccio, go.
I think all over America, people are waking up and for the first time in over 4 years are thinking, what's going to go wrong today? How will America be depreciated today? We have a new leader who believes in the concept of America as well as the promise of America. And he made that very clear. What struck me most about his inaugural speech, President Trump's inaugural speech, was that unlike most of his predecessors, he didn't modify his campaign rhetoric. He emphasized it, in fact. He said, this is basically, the message was, this is what I campaigned on, and this indeed is what I'm going to do. America has promise, America has potential, and that's going to be my agenda. I told you what I was going to do, and I'm going to start doing it day one. And indeed, by the end of the day, he did more to build America back up than President Biden did in 4 years. Indeed, President Biden spent most of his time knocking America down. What a contrast. What a wonderful day for America.
Okay, Ben Brunson, your impressions.
Well, the immediate impressions were action, energy, urgency. There's a phrase in the military called violence of action. It kind of got reduced to shock and awe during the first Gulf War. And I had that sense of, everything being prepared, readied, and all guns firing and blazing as Donald Trump took office. What a 24-hour period. What a contrast. To sit in the Oval Office till late at night, signing executive orders and answering every single question thrown his way from the press, regardless of how far afield it might be. You couldn't have a starker contrast to the lethargy and incoherence of the last administration. The whole world is clearly taking notice. It is what we expected on one level, but I think it exceeded expectations really in terms of the preparedness, the clear focus that every day will matter under this administration, that there's no time to waste whatsoever. There's such a clear understanding, as he said while he's seated at the desk, that he knows who the good people are, he knows who the bad people are. It is so different from 8 years ago. This is going to be, I think, the most consequential administration in a very long time. As Elon Musk said, this is a true change in direction, and I think a salvation for this country, because we were headed toward hell in a handbasket under the prior administration, and this is a complete 180. So the world is on notice. Donald Trump is the leader of the world right now. And I think everyone on this planet, including Vladimir Putin and Chairman Xi, will basically be taking a knee to Donald Trump in the very near future. And so I have very high expectations for what he can achieve.
Okay, Frank, a couple of things I've written down here as Ben was talking. He was talking about he was signing the executive orders in the Oval Office, and he had some of the press right there. And he was just calm about it. It was not like he was yelling or screaming, and what we've seen in other press conferences. And as he's signing, if they had a question, he would just turn and look to them, and he would just answer the question, just like you're sitting across the dining room table. And how refreshing that was, even for the press. It's like, wow, this is a real person, a real man, and it's casual, and we have access. You talk about being, transparent. That was it.
Yeah, one of the obvious impressions that you got, even for those who disagree with Donald Trump's agenda, was that we do have competence back in the White House. You could be sitting in the back seat of a car and maybe you don't like the direction the driver is taking, but you want to know at least that he can get there. And the fact is, with Joe Biden, you knew that you were not talking to the power. You were talking to the front man who had no way of really responding to you without checking with his handlers. Donald Trump needs no handlers. He is in charge. He knows what he's doing. One of the most fascinating aspects of that was the questions, as Ben brought up, were being thrown at him from willy-nilly from every topic you can think of under the sun. He had a detailed answer for each and every one. There is more detail provided during that little segment than you saw in 4 years of talking to Joe Biden. And I think that is, whether you like Donald Trump or not, I certainly do, but whether you do or whether you do not, there's competence back at the White House. And I think you can all take a sigh of relief that whether you like him or not, competence once again has returned to American executive power.
Ben, you kind of touched upon this, and I want you to expand upon this. I was talking to about a dozen people yesterday after the inauguration, and something that kept coming back is that America has been given a second chance.
Yeah.
When you stop and think about that, we
Yeah.
have now got a second chance to kind of get this thing right, Ben.
Well, we do have a second chance, and it is why this administration is so critical. We've gone so far afield, so far off the rails. Just thinking of the impact on our military alone, of getting rid of the insane woke policies and leftist ideology that has permeated through our military, has led to this crisis in recruiting. All this stuff is anathema to the type of people we want to join the military. We're looking for alpha males to join the military. That is the core of our warrior force. The people who believe in this country, who believe in patriotism, who have traditional views of right and wrong. Those are the people who go and fight our wars and make us the greatest military on earth. And we have spit in their face repeatedly over the last 4 years, from firing people who refuse to be vaccinated to calling out people who don't take a knee to the gender fluidity concepts of the woke left. So that is all done. And we're going to get back to normal order. We're going to get back to building a military that is a fighting force, that is capable of taking on the challenges that we face. The biggest of which, of course, is potential war with China. Nobody wants that. I don't really think the Chinese want it, but we have to be prepared to fight and win that war. And if we're not, the possibility and risk of that war happening goes up. And unfortunately, for the last 4 years, the risk of that war happening has been going up and up quite considerably as our military is weakened. And all that has changed very quickly. Removing General Milley's portrait from the Pentagon is a great step and a message to everyone that the insanity of the woke left running our military is done and dusted and buried in the trash heap of history. And we're going to have warriors in charge. I think Pete Hegseth is going to be confirmed probably very quickly. Marco Rubio won in a unanimous vote. I think that was a good omen for this president. People are coming around. Lindsey Graham has stated that he's on board with Kash Patel becoming the FBI head, even though Kash Patel's scheduled confirmation hearing is not yet set. not yet scheduled. But I think that's going to be a battle royale. That to me is the hardest lift that Donald Trump faces right now. But Lindsey Graham making that statement of support's key. So a lot of good things happening.
Okay, Frank, when I said America has been given a second chance, you just were nodding your head so firmly in affirmation.
Oh, absolutely. Look, we've taken the wrong path for the past 4 years. And it's not only in the presidency. I think in our educational system, in our bureaucracy, America has really been amiss, has distanced itself from its traditions, has distanced itself from its opportunities. And clearly that is going to change. One of the things I was glad that the president did not do is throw out a lifeline to the left saying, oh, I'm want to work with you. The people on the left who control education, who control the media for the most part, um, don't want to be worked with. They have an agenda. It's a left wing, hard left wing agenda to, as Barack Obama said, fundamentally transform America. And our not very curious media didn't say transform us into what. The president understands that. And I think that he is going to move forward in restoring America to what it should be, a land of hope, a land of opportunity. Those are two things that were utterly destroyed by the left during both the Obama and the Biden administrations. The president is tossing that in the garbage can. I think the overwhelming majority of Americans are on board with what President Trump is doing. And the fact that he did not vary a bit from his campaign promises during that entire long day yesterday, from the inauguration itself to the signing of those executive orders, really symbolizes that.
You know, Ben, Frank has hit on some. Well, you have a comment too, but well, I'll tell you what. Let me get this in, then you can make your comment. Because Frank hit on something that the left, they didn't care. I mean, they would walk all over the Republicans, and that would be their agenda from day one. And Trump not offering that olive branch, like say for the Department of Education, and just saying no. This is what I ran on. This is what we're going to do. And ignoring the left and saying this is what's good for America. I think that's the best thing that could happen. Now, Ben, you can talk and go left or right or upside down.
Well, I think you led into exactly what I want to talk about, which is one of the most important things yesterday, or the inauguration day earlier this week, that was very clear was remember the meme that was very popular a few years ago, but the honey badger and the honey badger doesn't give a damn. That is this presidency right now. Very different from 8 years ago. 8 years ago, Donald Trump was still tentative. He was still trying to figure out, all right, how am I going to get the press to come around and be neutral? He still thought he could do that. He would go do interviews with MSNBC. Right now, he doesn't care about any of that. He has a mission, and he doesn't care about the optics. He doesn't care about what the left stream media says about him. He knows it's going to be negative. He knows he's going to be called a fascist. He's going to be called a dictator. He doesn't care. He made that message. There's no attempt to worry about appeasing the left-wing leaders of Europe. He invited one EU leader to the inauguration, and that was Giorgia Meloni, the Italian prime minister who's pretty much in sync with his view of the world. And that was a clear message to Macron and obviously Keir Starmer and the complete absence of leadership in Germany right now as they move towards what the right solution there, which is the AfD taking over Germany. There's transitioning happening all over the world. And as far as Donald Trump is concerned, it's damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. He's going to make hay while the sun shines and do it. And like I said, every day matters. He probably realizes that from a probability perspective, it is probably a 95% chance that the Republicans lose the House in 2 years. That's just historical reality. Okay. Hopefully they'll buck that trend, but you have to assume that means you have 2 years to get your agenda through Congress, and you've got to hit the ground hard on all the issues you want to do. Voting reform, Remember, we've talked about that all the past year. It's absolutely critical that voting reform happen at the federal level, that ballot harvesting be made illegal on a federal basis. All these things have to get through Congress in the next 2 years. So he's got a full plate, and he's up to the task. And like I said earlier, he's not going to waste a single minute. He is going after it right now. And that was the message he sent loud and clear on Inauguration Day.
I'll tell you what, we're still loaded for bear, and this has been our first segment. This is Inside the News with Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio. Thank you so much for joining us this week. This is our post-inauguration show, and this is show number 496. And we've been with you all the way through the Obama years and all of that, but guess what? We're still here. We've got a lot of great content yet to come. Tell your neighbors and friends, and tell them, hey, you got to listen to this because these guys are on to something here. This is Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio. We're going to take our first time out. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.